Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Chariya Vaishnava Seva Nistar Payeche Keba. It's Bengali. Try to learn a new language today. And the translation is, it will come to the translation later. The next verse is a well-known verse that is a verse of gratitude that talks about all the ways in which one has been given the advantage of association with great souls, with the Holy Dham, and with the process of devotional service. We try together, do the best you can, and then we'll read the translation in a moment. Namashreshtam manamapi shati putramatra sarupam shirupam tasya grajam uruparim maturim goshtavatim radha kundam girivaramoho radhika madhavasham prapto yasya pratita kripaya shri gurun thandatosmi. He Guru Jnana Dadina Bandho Swananda Data Karanaika Sindho Vrindavana Sinahitavata Prasida Radha Pranaya Prachara He Dina Bandho Karanaika Sindho Kuru Prasadam Maimandamude Laksha Parade Bahupapagade Tatpada Padmestu Matishya Krishne Naivo Payantya Pachitim Kavayastavesha Rama Yusha Prikridam Ridda Mudasmaranta Yontar Bahistanubratam Ashubam Badunvan Acharya Chaitya Vapusha Swagatim Yanakti. The first Bengali statement we read: without serving the representative of Krishna, nobody can approach Krishna. This is Krishna's system. And the Vaishnava carries Krishna, or more importantly, love for Krishna within his or her heart, and by association with and serving the Vaishnava, one also obtains these qualities. That is love for Krishna. Next verse. This is the verse I said is the verse of gratitude, offering gratitude for all the ways in which spiritual master has passed down what he or she has received from their spiritual master, and then we're offering our appreciation for what we've received. Together, I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master, by whose causeless mercy I have obtained the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Shachimata, the association of Srila Swarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami and his older brother Sanatana Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, the divine Radha Kund and Govardhan Hill, and the desire within my heart. So if you just hold it there for a second, it's like we receive, first he mentions the Supreme Holy Name. From the devotees, we learn the process of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And then divine mantra means the mantras that we get when we take Diksha. Diksha comes from the words Divya Jnanam, which means divine knowledge. They're very highly refined, esoteric mantras that one receives in private from a spiritual master. And by repeating these silently or just audibly enough so you can hear it yourself 3 times a day, it helps to bring one's consciousness closer to Krishna. And this service of the son of Shachimata, which is our Gaudiya Sampradaya, which means that we follow in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya as he's following up from Krishna. He's Krishna himself, but he comes to show by example exactly how to follow the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. And so that's what it means, the service of the son of Shachimata. Shachimata is Krishna's eternal, Lord Chaitanya's eternal mother. The association of Srila Swarup Damodar. Srila Swarup Damodar is one of the most intimate associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Rupa Goswami and his older brother Sanatana Goswami. We especially get their association through their writings. And as it is mentioned elsewhere, without studying the books of Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, one cannot advance in devotional service. It's very important. The books like the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, in which there are the teachings of Lord Chaitanya to Sanatana Goswami, and Sanatana Goswami also wrote Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Rupa Goswami wrote Nectar of Devotion as examples. The supreme abode of Mathura and the blissful abode of Vrindavan, the divine Radhakund and Govardhan Hill. These are all very specific to those who are developing love for Krishna because they're part of the Dham, which are, the Dhams are places where Krishna performs his divine pastimes, and they're like embassies, so that we can go there and feel the environment of the spiritual world even as we're in this world. And most importantly, the desire within my heart for the loving service of Sri Radhika and Madhava in Vrindavan. This means once we develop this desire for loving service in our hearts, then we're attaining the perfection of life, or have attained. Can just get better from there. Next. O spiritual master, O giver of divine wisdom, O friend of the fallen, you're the giver of your own bliss, and you're the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like myself, and you're preaching the divine love of Radha for Krishna. Please be. This verse was not specifically written for Srila Prabhupada, but it very much applies because he was dwelling in Vrindavan. And you can go to visit his place there. It's a very quaint little corner of the Radha Damodar temple with stone floor, ceilings, and walls. And he stayed in there incubating his plot to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world and take Vrindavan all the way to Silicon Valley and beyond. And the next verse. O friend of the lowly, O Gurudev, you're the only ocean of mercy. I'm a dull fool and I've committed hundreds of thousands of offenses. I've fallen into a dense myriad of sins. Therefore grace me with your mercy so that my mind may be fixed on your lotus feet. And on Sri Krishna. This is the mood of the devotee, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he met his spiritual master. He approached him and claimed, I don't know anything. And he points out there that one should approach the spiritual master as a dull fool. Please impart knowledge unto me. Don't go, I know everything, I'm a great scholar. Finally, verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, this is spoken by Uddhava. It's the last verse of the Uddhava Gita, in which Uddhava is expressing his gratitude to Krishna for providing him the path of devotional service through the Acharya, and also by his own instruction from within our hearts. Together, O my Lord, transcendental poets and experts in spiritual science, could not fully express their indebtedness to you, even if they were endowed with the prolonged lifetime of Brahma. For you appear in two features, externally as the Acharya and internally as the Supersoul, to deliver the embodied living being by directing him how to come to you. And this is the translation to what's called the Guru Vandanam, or the prayers offered to the Guru. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow to those feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. Our only wish is to have our consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens our darkened eyes and fills our hearts with transcendental knowledge. He is our Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and Master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. As in this prayer, we're approaching spiritual master with a feeling of submission, because life after life in the material world, I think I know everything. Bahunam janmanamante jnanamam prapadyate. Everyone's trying by their own power to, either by karma or jnana, to overcome the stringent laws of material nature, but only until one comes submissively and says, okay, I'm not the authority. Unless we accept some other reasonable, well thought out authority, we can't really make advancement past the measurements of the material world. So one should have well-reasoned faith. After studying the science of Krishna consciousness, one can find who's representing the Shastra, living it and exemplifying it. And if we give our submissive service there and attention, then we'll make advancement in devotional service. Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevalabha Kati Shadma. Bando mui savadana mate. Jara prasade bhai bhavato riyajai. Krishna prapti hoy jaha hoy te. Guru mukha padma bhakya chitete ko riya oikya. Guru mukha padma bhakya chitete kuriya oikya. Anakori ho mani asha. Anakori ho mani Shri Guru Charane Rati Eshe Uttamagati. Shri Guru Charane Rati Eshe Uttamagati. Jai Prasade Pure Sarvata. Jai Prasade Pure Sarvata. Chakudan Diloje Jani Jani Prabhushe. Vidya Jnana Prakashita. Prema Bhakti Da Hoite Abhidya Vinasa Jate. Prema Bhakti Da Hoite Abhidya Vinasa Jate. Vede Gai Jahara Charito. Vede Gai Jahara Charito. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu. Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu. Lokana Lokera Jivana. Lokana Lokera Jivana. Ha Prabhu Kora Doya Deha More Pada Chaya. Ha Prabhu Kora Doya Deha More Pada Chaya. Ebe Jashtu Tikti Bhuvana. Vejashti Shakti Bhuvana. Ha Prabhu Kora Doya De Amore Parachaya. Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Namah Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavari Paschatyarishatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Gadadhar Shivasari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayom Vishnupad Paramhamsa Prevrajikacharya Shtotarashta Shishimad Bhai Charanada Vinda Bhaktivedanta Sai Maharaj Shilesi Bhaktivedanta Sai Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayom Vishnupad Paramhamsa Prevrajikacharya Shtotarashta Shishimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Zikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasri Gaura Bhakti Viniki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavanam Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Sambheta Bhakti Viniki Ki Jai. All glorious to some of the devotees. All glorious to some of the devotees. All glorious to some of the devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Srimad Bhagavatam class. We'll be right back with you in less than 1 minute. with a little help and cooperation. Make them neat, very neat, perfectly aligned, please. Srila Prabhupada came to the Western countries, Paschatya Desh, and he worked strenuously to install deities of Radha and Krishna everywhere, on the far reaches of the earth. In Australia, and of course New York City, Shishi Radha Govinda are there. He came to Los Angeles, Shishi Rukmini Dwarkadish, and Montreal, Canada, Toronto, Shishi Radha Kirchor Gopinath. Actually, we could go on for quite some time naming the deities all over the world without having the object of our meditation, or having an object of meditation, or I could say the object of meditation that will attract us away from the material world. There's no possibility of leaving the gravitational force of this material world. Prabhupada knew it was necessary to have the archa, the form of the Lord. And in a letter we recently read, Nirkula and me, about deity worship, Srila Prabhupada had mentioned, in response to a devotee's question, while I'm worshiping the deity, should I meditate on the form of the Lord? And he said, why do you have to do that? Because you're already seeing the form of the Lord. He said, you don't have to artificially do that. That's why archa worship is so powerful. Of course, that's redundant, archa worship. Archa is the worship of the deity. And he said, you simply have to attend to the form of the deity, because Krishna and his form are not different. And in giving us the forms of Radha Madhava, Radha Govinda, Shishi Radha Madan Mohan, is showing us how to worship, as is mentioned in the Gurvashtakam prayers. Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana, Shingaratan Mandira Marjanado, Yuktasya Bhaktams Chaniyunjatopi, Vande Gurushi Charanara Vindam. We worship such a guru who teaches us the process of worshiping Krishna in the temple. We have much to do when we're worshiping the deity. For instance, Shingaratan Mandira Marjanado, cleaning the temple, is one of the primary aspects of devotional service that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself showed the example for instance, in cleansing the Gundicha temple before the Ratha Yatra. In Jagannath Puri, there's a place in which Lord Jagannath leaves his main temple and he comes to stay in the temple that is considered to be the destination of Vrindavan that he's going on for the Ratha Yatra festival. So Mahaprabhu showed the example of cleansing the temple, and he told the devotees that it's synonymous with cleansing one's heart. So mandira marjanado, washing pots, sweeping the floor, getting down and scrubbing the floor. This is important. And why is it important? Because it's worshiping Krishna. It's his house, which is non-different from him also. What to speak of Shringara, getting clothes and ornaments for the deities. Mostly people are looking at fashion magazines thinking, how will this look on me? And to avoid that propensity, after one gets then one wants to look in the mirror and say, how do I look now? How do you like me now? And that goes on and on and on, and the fashions change. For a while it seemed that everyone was wearing skinny clothes, and now maybe it's loosening up a little bit. In the 80s everything was baggy, and then somehow in the 2000s it became everything skinny. It's a mental speculation. Everyone wants to wear baggy, then skinny, then this, that, and then look in the mirror and say, how do I look? And that's a very hard thing to overcome, because everyone's attracted to their own body. And if one becomes absorbed in Shringaratan Mandira Marjanado, going to thinking, how will I dress Krishna very beautifully? Or how will I offer artik? I was just, Nirkula showed me a short clip video of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, and as he was so accustomed to doing artik for the deity, someone had taken a videotape of him while he was sleeping, and he's doing this and then this for a long time, just as he's asleep. And Prabhupada said that whatever you're doing externally, you will then carry into your dreams. He gave an example of his father who was quoting prices all day for cloth, and then he said when he saw he'd take a nap, and even in his sleep he was quoting prices. And that carries over, and we have to have a vision of Shri Shri Radhamata, of the deity worship, each place, Nikunjayuno Ratikeli Siddhai. So when we're able to, the kunja means, of course, it's very esoteric, because it's talking about the places where Krishna meets with his devotees, sometimes in the middle of the night. We worship Radha and Krishna in a different way. Someone wrote Prabhupada and asked, why don't we dress them like cowherds in very simple clothing and things like that? And he said, that is for the spontaneous platform. In the beginning, we worship Radha Krishna as Lakshmi and Narayan. That's why it's very formal worship. It has to be on time. It's not like you show up anytime. A brahmachari, so-called brahmachari, once I came to the temple and he was an hour late with the Mangalartik, and I said, what's going on? And he said, well, it's spontaneous. That's not what it means. And we have to start with worshiping the deity very attentively and according to the rules and regulations. And then there will be a natural enthusiasm that grows and grows within one's heart. And the internal cultivation of spontaneous devotional service may take place at a certain time. But without the nikunja, without the curtains opening and then we see the kunj, we know anywhere in the world you can go. If you're in Hong Kong, right? You were there in Hong Kong. You went in, then Mangalarti, curtains open, and then the greeting of the deities at 7:15. The curtains open, you see Krishna's form. In the Shringar, the clothing, the ornaments, everything is very beautiful, carries the mind away, and you hear the song about the spiritual world. This is the Nikunja. You look in, just now you can see Shri Shri Radhamata Mohan in a little forest somewhere. And this scene is what we bring our mind to meditation upon. So this song Prabhupada would sing before the Srimad Bhagavatam class to remind us of the goings on in the spiritual world with Radha and Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Jashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. We're reading today from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9, text number 46, which you all know, right? Say yes. Maunavrata Shutatapodhyayana Swadharma. Check it and see if you do know it. Vakyaraho japa samadhaya apavargya. Raya param burushate tvajitendriyana. Varta bhavantya tunavatra tudambikanam. Go ahead. Mauna vrata shuta tapodhyayana sadharma. Vakyaraho japa samadaya apavargya.
Praya param purushate tvajitendriyanam.
Praya param purushase tvajitendriyanam.
Varta bhavantyutana vatra tudambhikanam.
Varta bhavantyutana vatra tudambikanam. Dozo.
Mauna vrata sruta tapodayana swadharma.
Mauna vrata shuta tapodhyayana swadharma.
Vyakhyayata rahajapa samadhaya apavagyaha.
Vakyaraho japa samadhaya apavargya.
Praya param purushate tvajitendriyanam.
Praya param purushate tvajitendriyanam.
Varta bhavantyutadha vatra tubdabhikanam.
Varta bhavantyutana vatra. Now the word for word is mauna, silence, vrata, vows. So some people take a vow of silence, and oftentimes they'll write on a chalkboard. So I don't know if that counts. But when we talk about silence, anyway, I'll let Prabhupada speak for himself in the purport. Vrata means vow, and it's cognate with English vote. And devotee, we say devotee, and devotee means someone who follows a vow. It all comes from Sanskrit, vrata, to follow something, a vow. Shruta, Vedic knowledge. Shruta literally means that which you hear, because it's the sound vibration of the mantras of the Vedas that get inculcated. And the essence of them, of course, in Kali Yuga, if you ask anyone in the Hare Krishna movement who's been educated through the system of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, it's in essence all within the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Tapa, austerity. Contrary to popular opinion, austerity, taking some trouble in one's life for the sake of spiritual advancement is a good thing. Adhyayana, study of scripture. Swadharma, executing varnashrama dharma. Bhakya, explaining the shastras. Araha, living in a solitary place. Japa, chanting or reciting mantras. Samadhaya, remaining in trance. Apavargya. These are 10 types of activities for advancing on the path of liberation. Prayaha, generally. Param, the only means. Purusha, O my Lord. Te, all of them. Tu, but. Ajita indriyanam, of persons who cannot control the senses. Varta, means of living. Bhavanti, are. Uta, so it is said. Na, not. Va, or. Atra, in this connection. Tu, but. Dambikanam, of persons who are falsely proud. And the translation is, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are 10 prescribed methods on the path to liberation: to remain silent, not to speak to anyone, to observe vows, to amass all kinds of Vedic knowledge, to undergo austerities, to study the Vedas and other Vedic literatures, to execute the duties of varnashrama dharma, to explain the shastras, to stay in a solitary place, to chant mantras silently, and to be absorbed in trance. These different methods for liberation are generally only a professional practice and means of livelihood for those who have not conquered their senses. Because such persons are falsely proud, these procedures may not be successful. Hopefully the translation has piqued your interest. So now here's the purport by Srila Prabhupada. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 6.1.15, Ke chit kevalaya bhaktya vasudeva parayana agham dundvandi kartsnyena niharam iva bhaskara. Only a rare person who has adopted complete unalloyed devotional service to Krishna can uproot the weeds of sinful actions with no possibility that they will revive. He can do this simply by discharging devotional service, just as the sun can immediately dissipate fog by its rays. The real purpose of human life is to attain liberation from material entanglement. Such liberation may be achieved by many methods, tapasa brahmacharyena, shamena cha, damena cha. He's quoting from the 6th canto. But all of them more or less depend on tapasya, austerity, which begins with celibacy. Shukadeva Goswami says that those who are Vasudeva Parayana, who have fully surrendered to the lotus feet of Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, automatically achieve the results of mauna, silence, vrata, vows, and other such methods, simply by discharging devotional service. In other words, these methods are not so powerful. If one takes to devotional service, all of them are very easily performed. Mauna, for example, does not mean that one should just stop speaking. The tongue is meant for speaking, although sometimes to make a big show, a person remains silent. There are many who observe silence some day in a week. Vaishnavas, however, do not observe such silence. Silence means not speaking foolishly. Speakers at assemblies, conferences, and meetings generally speak foolishly like toads. This is described by Srila Rupa Goswami as vachavegam. One who wants to say something can show himself to be a big orator, but rather than go on speaking nonsense, better to remain silent. This method of silence, therefore, is recommended for persons very attached to speaking nonsense. One who is not a devotee must speak nonsensically because he does not have the power to speak about the glories of Krishna. Thus, whatever he says is influenced by the illusory energy and is compared to the croaking of a frog. One who speaks about the glories of the Lord, however, has no need to be silent. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends Kirtaniya Sadahari. One should go on chanting the glories of the Lord 24 hours a day. There is no question of becoming mauna or silent. The 10 processes for liberation or improvement on the path of liberation are not meant for the devotees. Kevalaya bhaktya. If one simply engages in devotional service to the Lord, all 10 methods of liberation are automatically observed. Prahlad Maharaj's proposal is that such processes may be recommended for the ajatendriya, those who cannot conquer their senses. Devotees, however, have already conquered their senses. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tapratvena nirmalam. A devotee is already freed from material contamination. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur therefore said, Dushtamana tumi kisir Vaishnava pratishtara tare nirjanera ghare taba harinam kevala kaitava. There are many who like to chant the Hare Krishna mantra in a silent, solitary place, but if one is not interested in preaching, talking constantly to the non-devotees, the influence of the modes of nature is very difficult to surpass. Therefore, unless one is extremely advanced in Krishna consciousness, one should not imitate Haridas Thakur, who had no other business than chanting the holy name always, 24 hours a day. Prahlad Maharaj does not condemn such a process. he accepts it. But without active service to the Lord, simply by such methods, one generally cannot attain liberation. One cannot attain liberation simply by false pride. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Viditamne Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. This prayer, Om Jnana, means that I come into the world in ajnana, without any knowledge. And timirandasya, I'm in the darkness of ignorance. And Jnananjana Shalakaya, there's a way in which someone has performed I've gone to a medical doctor and they've cured my blindness, is basically it. Nowadays, of course, you can find anything on YouTube, but there are, every once in a while, a video of somebody who is blind and then they can see, like a child seeing for the first time. They did some operation. More likely, they gave them special glasses. Sometimes people can hear for the first time, too. They do some operation, I don't know what it is, but they do it, and then they hear for the first time, and you can see that suddenly their countenances change, and they are amazed that sounds are coming in. And so there's a sense in this prayer, Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya, that there's, I couldn't see, I couldn't hear, I didn't know anything, and then I came to the doctor, and he gave me a little operation. It's like suddenly I can see and hear and understand the purpose of life. Chakshur unmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Therefore, he says, I offer my respects to this person. How much gratitude do we have? I can still remember times when people told me, I went to many doctors, said, we don't know what's wrong, can't fix it, or they misdiagnosed it, and then finally I met some old guy who was about to retire and said, I know what it is, I can fix it. I said, no, you can't. Nobody else could. And he said, no, I know this. And then it was fixed. And I always remember that person. What to speak of somebody saves us from the darkness of the material nature. And whichever one it is, as we see in the very beginning of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Kaviraj Goswami talks about the ways in which there's the Vartmana Pradakshaka Guru. Bilva Mangal Thakur, in his exalted writings, offers his obeisances first to Chintamani, who was his girlfriend, who said, hey, wake up. Why don't you become a devotee? You're so devoted to this love affair we're having. If you just transfer that to Krishna, you'd actually be happy. And he's like, thank you. You changed my life. So even as a Paramahamsa, he's offering his respects to his girlfriend, saying, thanks for bringing me to this point. And then, of course, to those who are giving ongoing help, because there's a way in which, even as we practice devotional service, we need to rectify ourselves at various intervals, maybe every 5 minutes. Or and to have someone who's sincerely practicing devotional service, who has realization that we can go to and say, what do I do now? And the person can reassure us, give us some track to be on, help us understand something that we misunderstand, and then we're clear again to go on. These kinds of guides who are giving us instruction are so important to remember and to offer our respects to. And then there's the guru who we follow and then we receive the mantra from, who for us represents the sampradaya. Of course, even the Shiksha Gurus represent the sampradaya, but there's a Diksha Guru. We have one Diksha Guru where we see the epitome of following the Guru, and when we can give our heart there and take shelter. We offer our respects in that way is very important, because in empiric investigation, when we're trying to use our senses to understand the environment, we use the double-blind study. You have to be able, we use controlled experiments. Correct, scientists? Everyone say yes. You're all scientists. So controlled study means you have to have something to control. You control for this, control for that. To some degree, because we're consciousness and we're looking at matter, which is inert, to some degree we can control it, although imperfectly. There's the Heisenberg effect. When you look at something, as soon as you start studying it, it goes a little bit, it changes its stature a little bit. It's hard to nail down anything, even in the material world, but to some degree we can control matter, evidenced by the ways in which we develop technologies through which we're able to mess things up in the world quite a bit. That was sarcastic. But we can control nature in certain ways. You can create a little box that you can carry around and distract yourself all day long. Still sarcastic. Snap out of it, Vaisesika. But when it comes to investigating consciousness, you can't measure it. There's no tool that you use in physics that by which you measure something in the material world, which, by the way, even then it's very difficult to ascertain what you're doing. Just like if an ant's crawling on my arm, he knows more about my arm than I do. But he only thinks, I don't know what he thinks, but he probably, he's probably not aware that this is an American from Walnut Creek, California, who's now, leading a kirtan or something like that. He's just like, wow, this is like, there's a lot of stuff going on down here. And so those who study the material nature may focus on one particular aspect of it for a long time, and then have more acquaintance with that little section of the material nature, but may not have context to what it means in the cosmos, or even what the cosmos is for. The question of what is the cosmos, what is the purpose of the cosmos, and why am I here? These are metaphysical questions that can't be answered by the controlled experiment, because you can't control it. Just like when you go to an interview, and let's just say there's lots of other people that are about as qualified as you, and the company doesn't need you, but you need them. Does that resonate at all? Yes. Okay, so when you go there, you can't control your way of approaching is to be very, yes sir, no ma'am. You go there with a sense of receiving. And similarly, the ways in which we are able to understand the Supreme, it's a different kind of experiment. We open ourselves through humility to what is being passed down to us, and it's based on the premise that the Supreme wants to reveal himself to us. The absurd conclusion that we're created and then God wants to eternally hide himself from us. If you try to compare that to parents who have children, they want their children to come to maturity and then develop a relationship with them that's very deep, where they actually understand who the parents are and they can have mutual loving exchange. They don't want to send them to their room forever, or hide themselves perpetually from the child and never allow the child to know them. They actually want to, in every way, extend themselves. What to speak of the Supreme, who wants to reveal himself. That's a premise. And if the infinite wants to reveal himself to the infinitesimal, that's his prerogative. But we have to be open to it. So these prayers we say before we go into discussion, Om Jnana Timirandasya, Jnananjana Shalakaya, Chakshur Unmilitam Dena, Tasmai, Shri Gurave Namah. We're saying, I'm entering this not as a controlled substance. I'm not trying to control the outcome of this. I'm open in a humble way to receive. As they say in Japan, itadakimasu. That verb means, it's the verb to receive. Before they take prasadam in Japan, the devotees, besides Sharira Vijaya, oops, sorry, everyone will come running. I say itadakimasu means like now we're receiving grace. It's coming down to us. So the life of the devotee is itadakimasu. Let me receive grace. Let me be in a humble position, open in service to receive. That's the idea behind saying Sri Guru Pranam. So in today's verse, we have some very subtle information in the verse and purport. This is Prayena Deva Muniyak Savimukti Kama Maunam Charanti Vijanen Apararta Nishta. No, Mauna Vrata Shuta Tapo Dhyayana Sadharma Vakya Raho. So, as you all heard, Prahlad Maharaj is giving an insider's view to devotional service. And his mood is that there are a lot of elaborate ways in which one can take to devotional service, maybe even showy, where you trek off into the mountains and lock yourself in a place, a cave maybe, and you observe silence, and maybe you have some severe, strict vows and so forth. And he's saying that all these methods may not be successful because they're based on a sense of one's own accomplishment, and they may spill over into the category of somebody doing it for show, that I'm such a great advanced personality. Devotional service, however, as presented by Prahlad Maharaj in these verses, is very practical. By practical service to the Lord and by following the 9 processes, general processes of devotional service, beginning with hearing and chanting and remembering, serving the lotus feet, etc. Then Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayat Yashuvairagyam Jnanam Cha Yarahaitukam. There's a natural way in which the ways of detachment and then knowledge about one's spiritual position, these are incidental or concomitant. They come to one naturally by performing devotional service. One doesn't have to make some show. One simply has to be sincere and follow the process. And it's based on receiving the grace that's coming down from Krishna, which flows to those who have prepared their hearts in ways of being very humble and open to receive the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the disciplic succession. And now we'll take a few questions that will illuminate the information in the purport or in the verse. Yes, Radha Kripa Prabhu. Pretty full, but I can try it. It's pretty full.
Guru Maharaj, I saw the word japa in that one, and how does that japa is different from the chanting which we do? Because I got a little confused on that one because japa is mentioned at one of the austerities.
It's all in the context of performing activities that are meant to elevate oneself by one's own power. It is japa, we do japa, but the mood is Srinadapi Sunichena Toror Api Suishna. What Prahlad Maharaj is talking about here categorically is a sense that I'm doing on my own. And there are many different mantras one can chant as well in japa. The Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. I was just remembering our former pujari from ISV. And once we were in Santa Cruz together distributing books, and he taught the Maha Mantra to a young woman with her child, and she said, "What does it mean?" And he said, "It means I need help." So yeah, there are parallels here, but he's talking about the mood. And also he goes into the fact that the highest conception, and it goes along with many other verses in Prahlad, which is really Prabhupada's mood and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's mood, which is the highest service is that of distributing Krishna consciousness to others, because it's the main purpose of the material world. And in the process of doing that, one becomes Krishna's friend. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, there's no one more dear to me than the person who's doing this. So when we do japa, we're, of course, meditating on Krishna's name and so forth, but in a different mood, not silently or in a secluded place. Prahlad has said also in these series of prayers that I don't want to go to a far-off place, a far-flung place. I want to be in the middle of the city. Put me in the middle of, where's the middle of Silicon Valley? Find the map, say, where's the most crowded place? That's where I want to be, he's saying, because he said that's where people are suffering due to a misconception, bharam udvahato vimudhan. They're burdened by the materialistic conception, and by staying there and giving people an opportunity to take to Krishna consciousness, they become relieved from that, and that is the highest type of service. So he knows when devotees are engaged in that kind of activity and then they chant japa, they're renewing themselves, reconnecting so that they can go out and give it to others. And there's a difference between that and japa sitting in a cave. Even if you're chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we hear in this purport, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta did not like that. He didn't like that people would go off by themselves and imitate Haridas Thakur. And I saw it happen almost every time we'd go as a group, a large group, to India with Prabhupada. And everyone would get there, inevitably somebody, it was never anybody I knew intimately, but there was always somebody, like, where's such and such? It's like, he's at Radhakund. Well, we're at Bhagavatam class, and it's like, what's he doing there? He's sitting under a tree chanting all day and night. And, Prabhupada didn't appreciate that they left the group and then they went off on their own to Radhakund to imitate Haridas Thakur. And I can say that in the several, or there were more than that did that, it was, if there was a scoreboard, it was 0 for the lonely chanter and a very high score for the material energy. Because you could be anywhere if you're in the wrong mood, even if you're in a very sacred place. If you don't align with the proper mood, then you can easily fall into Maya there too. Maya is all pervading. Bhakti Divya.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
I had a question about chanting. This morning you mentioned about asana. And sometimes sitting in one position for too long, it gets uncomfortable and we get the urge to stand up and to walk a little bit. So is it okay to walk and chant or stand and chant if sitting for too long is uncomfortable?
Yeah, it's okay. That was definitely under a minute. Just pay attention when you do. Don't go window shopping. Like, or more likely looking at a screen, Krishna, Krishna, that's not chanting. It's actually an offense or a disruptor to devotional service, because really we're getting these instructions to remind us that this is really an appearance of Krishna. And as we're chanting, the more we can be attentive, whether we're walking, sitting, anywhere, then the more that we'll remember that Krishna's right there with us. Anyway, Prabhupada paced. He also went on morning walks and he would chant and so forth. So the main thing is to be present for the holy name when we do chant. Who had their hand up over here? Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So in the verse, from what I understood, it was talking about not doing mauna as Vaishnavas, right? Like, and we don't want to observe silence. We want to speak about Krishna. But practically at my level, where I'm not purified enough, where I can speak about Krishna the whole day, there's a tendency to do prajalpa, right? And how do we curb that tendency and regulate that so that while we are not at that level, we can still do meaningful things along the way?
Well, there's a couple practical ways. Stay off social media is people feel free to make comments and give free advice on social media, and a lot of times it's not well thought out, or it's given with a mean-spirited sense to it. And there's a way that if we read a lot of that stuff, unless we're really careful and selective, then that's what goes in. And what to speak of watching other kinds of things, because whatever goes in, that's what comes out. And you can test it. For instance, let's say you live with your family in a house. That's a practical assumption. If there's a time in which you all hear together something, then when you sit down, there's usually a time when devotees and families, or anyone, even in an ashram, they'll sit down together to, for instance, take prasadam, right? And when people come together, then there's a tendency to want to talk about something. So if you have not heard something like Krishna Katha, if you've read together, then what are you going to talk about? Well, if you heard about the news, then someone was like, did you hear such and such said so and this and that? That's what will come out. So first thing is, take in Krishna Katha, so you have something to offer later. And another point is, and this is just my own personal practice, but I always consider saying 20% less than what my mind tells me I should say. I say 20% because then it doesn't seem overbearing, but I then have a filter because something comes up, I could say it, but then I think, well, if I say it, what's the result of this going to be? How is it going to help anybody, me or anyone else? And where will the conversation go if I bring this up? We find this at Govardhan when we do the hearing and chanting. We'll be reading, and then we take time for reflections or questions. And I notice that unless we're careful, even in that very tight process, someone will bring up something that starts to bring the conversation to a less practical level, and it can spiral down from there. So we have to be watchful of one's own impulse to speak. That's a vacho vegam. There's an urge, like, say it. And it's like, why? How's it going to help? If you filter it out before you say it, and then you notice there's a little silence after that where you notice, oh, I didn't say it, and now I don't have to deal with it. Because once I say it, then I have to deal with what I just said. And then I have to also deal with people's response to it. It's like, do you want to hear their response to this? Or would you rather just wait till there's a pitch you can hit that's going to go over the wall? You know, once you wait for the thought that comes up, this is really helpful and it's in context and it's a good thing to say, then you offer it. I've seen it even managerial meetings, those who are seasoned and really helpful in these types of meetings are careful because they know that it can become an out-of-control train if they just throw in all kinds of irrelevant things. I've seen the best of devotees who are good managers and devotees who will be in a meeting and they'll wait until there's something really helpful to say. And everyone appreciates it because they could have said a lot of other things because they had something. Anyway, so filtering is very helpful, but most importantly is taking in things that where you have revelation that you can share with people later. Now, there is a case in which some people may become so stodgy that every time you get around them, you know, they'll like, I don't want to talk to you because that's not Krishna conscious. I mean, sometimes Prabhupada would tell a joke. And, you know, I was there once in Vrindavan in 1975 when the temple opened. And Prabhupada opened a bank inside the temple. It's no longer there. But he opened it. And I was standing right behind him when he was cutting the ribbon and doing the ceremony. And he told a joke during that time. And everybody laughed. And it was funny. It was related to the bank. But it wasn't Krishna Katha right out of the Bhagavatam. And devotees also have a sense of humor. And it's not that, it's also sometimes if you sit down for prasadam and somebody's like, let's talk about Sankhya. It's like, let's just take a little prasadam. And I've seen that before too. I was at Govardhan, somebody invited us to our house, and there was a very enthusiastic younger devotee, and it's like, yeah, let's talk. What about the elements? He was asking a senior devotee. It's like talking, and he said, senior devotee's like, it's very nice, but it's not. You should have a little lighter conversation during prasadam, not try to jam in Sankhya Yoga explanation during this time. So devotees aren't so pedantic that like, no, that's not Krishna Katha. I'm not going to talk to you about that. But they're always thinking of Krishna. They think about how to bring the conversation back in that direction. And if there's lightheartedness, they're appreciating that it's a joyful situation. Thank you. So, okay, next question. Thank you, Bhakti and Divya. Krishna Saka.
Thank you, Ramaj. Danvat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you for the wonderful class. I had this question. We were talking about Prahlad Maharaj's mood, that he wants to be in the city and share Krishna consciousness. Here's a question. So why one should go out for books specifically? I'm not like sharing Krishna consciousness, but books specifically, if only like the verse and where Brahma says that just by hearing one can develop love for Krishna, that he can conquer the unconquerable just by hearing, then why, and when I do that, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, I feel more connected also. But when we go out for books, sometimes it is raining, sometimes it is austerity. And and I was thinking about Prahlad Maharaj. He was liberated also, that that he could do it, and how
it means to go out and give Krishna consciousness to others.
Sorry.
You said Prahlad Maharaj could do it. It is a placeholder pronoun that refers back to some earlier information, and I'm asking if you mean it means to be in the mood of giving mercy to other people.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So Prahlad Maharaj was liberated, and he can do it, but conditioned person like me would like. Yeah, hearing is more easy. That's what I was asking. And then how...
I don't know what you're talking about. You're all over the place. Utah, Montana. every time I look on the web, you're somewhere else giving somebody the Krishna consciousness and bringing them in. So maybe you're asking for somebody else. I don't know. Okay, there is a principle. First of all, variety is the spice of life. And even Prabhupada sometimes he would chant bhajan, sometimes he'd chant japa, sometimes he's writing his book, sometimes he's taking prasadam, going on a morning walk. And there are varieties of things to do. We like variety because we're humans and we're jivas. We want ananda, means jivas just want to have fun. So there's a way in which devotional service is according to one's taste, and people have certain tastes. Some people are very much suited for worshiping the deity and so forth, and others, management type people, they like to be organizing people and telling them what to do and so forth. So there are a lot of ways that one can engage in devotional service and also be part of spreading Krishna consciousness. And as far as staying and hearing, there's a way that Shushu Sho Shradhanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahatseveya Vipra Punya Tirtha. Yeah. So this verse means that by serving great souls, you develop an affinity for hearing and chanting. And this is a great science of Krishna consciousness, how to live a whole lifetime in Krishna consciousness. You have to organize your life in such a way that you have all these wonderful activities that you can do in Krishna consciousness. And if you're also engaged in preaching Krishna consciousness to others, you'll naturally have an enthusiasm to hear. if all you do is hear all the time, if you can do it, sometimes people say, well, whatever happened, just chant Hare Krishna. It's like, okay, go ahead. Just chant Hare Krishna. Don't do anything else. That's Haridas Thakur. And people who try that, eventually they're like, maybe I'll just I'll drive to Delhi and watch one movie. That's all, just one. And next thing you know, 30 years later, what happened to you? It's like, I don't know. So if you have a balanced life, it's like a balanced diet. Eat a rainbow diet of Krishna in Krishna consciousness. Have all these items, but it's a very active ingredient to have mercy for others. It's really the principle of the Krishna consciousness movement to extend ourselves to others. That's why it's a movement. What are we moving towards? Even Prabhupada said, I didn't build any temples in India. He said, I also didn't have intention to build temples in America. He said, when people started coming, wealthy individuals, and saying, we'll build you something, he said, I accepted the donations and I built temples. He said, but my main occupation was to do the business of the high-class devotees, which is to preach, to distribute books, and to hold forth in ways that people can come in and hear about Krishna. That's first-class devotional service. And so if you have everything else, but you don't have that, you're missing the active ingredient, and the environment will become dry and stagnated. We need to be out preaching, and this is the mood of Prahlad Maharaj. The real worship of Krishna takes place person to person, and the real purification takes place person to person also. There's a book I once heard about called Everything I Needed to Know in Life I Learned in Kindergarten. And it was a very interesting book, and I liked the premise. And you could write a book, Everything I Needed to Know About Life I Learned Out on Book Distribution, or in the process. And there's a way in which, when you're engaged in going out to meet people in various places, you have a strong connection with Super Soul, and a strong connection with Krishna, and you start to develop a strong taste for hearing also. So, as I've said many times, and I haven't said it for a long time, but I'm going to say it now, there's rice. Of course, it's quinoa too. There's rice, and there's also dal. They're both good foods, but when you put them together, you get synergy, 42% more nutrition, according to the Shastra of Jamuna's cookbook, which is amazing. The enzymes combine, and there's more. So hearing and chanting we have to do. Prabhupada told us personally, you must also read my books. He said these are not just for selling, but he also said, I want everyone to learn the art of book distribution. Gunagrahi Maharaj told me when I interviewed him from my book, that when he was a preacher, he was always out distributing books and meeting new people, and then they asked him to become a temple president, and he, after a month or so, started to feel anxious, and he went to his senior advisor and said, what's happened to me? What's wrong? Why don't I feel right? And the senior devotee said, you should plan a day a week to go out on book distribution. And when he did that, and he added it to his service, then he felt okay again. And I could say that every time I get the opportunity to go out for book distribution, which I just did last weekend in San Luis Obispo, to be directly involved right there. And Nirkula, my wife, always notices and says, oh, you're a happier person now. And sometimes even in my dreams, I dream about being on book distribution, and I always wake up happy that I'm doing something directly pleasing to Krishna, and you can't have any more fun, actually. There's no more taste going out on book distribution and just depending on Krishna. It's a new experience every single time. So Prabhupada set the example for it, and he inculcated this mood of Prahlad Maharaj that it's the active ingredient. It's the most important part. Yes.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj, for a wonderful class. My question is, how do we develop the right mood for receiving?
Well, Queen Kunti says that you should be kinchana gochara, which means that you should be hungry. And if you realize that I don't have anything, akinchana means that I'm bereft. I'm the one who was left out. I'm the runt of the litter. Everybody else got something. I didn't get anything, Krishna. You hear that in a lot of prayers of the acharyas say, Krishna, you gave mercy to everybody else. Why? I'm the only one left out. You said you're going to give the mercy to the lowest. Okay, here I am. They actually feel like that. And I don't have anything. I missed the boat. I'm left out in the cold. Akinchana gochara. If you have that mood, instead of, I've been around a little longer than everybody, and I know, I've read Bhagavad Gita. I've been there. If you've ever tried to present Bhagavad Gita to somebody who says, yeah, Bhagavad Gita, I know that. I know everything. It slips out of their mouth accidentally. They're like, I know everything. It's like, wow. You know everything. Then we can notice it in ourselves. So if we can cultivate, it doesn't mean we have to be incompetent or act incompetently, but if we can develop the mood of spiritual hunger, especially we get it in the association of others who have it. If we get in the association of people more advanced, they're more eager to hear, we start to realize, oh, I thought I was somewhere, now I see, relatively speaking, I've got a long way to go. When you find somebody who actually has realization, and they really have a taste, and you spend a little time with them, even a second, and you see that, and you're like, okay, Krishna, I'm hungry. I'm hungry again. Please feed me. Please give me this. I just want to hear from you. And so akinchana gochara, like in Ayurvedic medicine, has said the more appetite you have, the healthier you are. If your appetite's dead, then you can't eat anything. And also, our appetite can be killed if we become disrespectful to the process, to devotees and things like that. We lose that hunger that we have. And it can happen even in course of time. Sometimes people say, I was much more enthusiastic when I first joined Krishna consciousness. Therefore, be careful. Watch out for midlife crisis in devotional service, or thinking in terms of entitlement. I've been around. Be the first one to raise your hand when they say, we need some volunteers. Try that. I mean, volunteer to wash the floor. Just act like you just got there. If you start over every time you join the group of devotees and think that I'm the newcomer here because I don't know anything, then you're the most hungry, and you can take in the most because you've got the biggest appetite. Got time for 1.5 more questions. Dhanavari?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you for giving us non-stop guidance and your care. My question is, you mentioned that we can we meditate on Vrindavan Leela or Krishna Leela on like when we are not there? Is it not spontaneous? Is it okay to just meditate on Krishna Leela in our mind? Is it okay or not?
It's best to read Krishna book. That's Krishna Leela. And if you become addicted to reading Krishna book, then you'll naturally remember Krishna Leela in Vrindavan or Dwarka or wherever. So we don't boycott Dwarka or Mathura. We also don't boycott Vrindavan. As Prabhupada said, we don't boycott Radharani because there were some devotees who, when the Chaitanya Charitamrita came out, said, aha, we've discovered a shortcut. We're going to go to only the parts in the Chaitanya Charitamrita about Krishna Leela in Vrindavan. And we will push aside everything else. No Bhagavad Gita for us, no pastimes in Dwarka, no pastimes in Vrindavan, only Krishna Leela. And this is an imitation of of spontaneous devotional service. If one hears properly, then one will remember naturally. And I said Krishna book because especially in the context of Krishna book, Prabhupada wrote it and gave context. Shraddhanvito na shrinu yadapa api varna yedyad. There's a way in which one has to develop one's faith to hear it properly. And Prabhupada had included the parameters within the Krishna Lila in the Krishna book so that one continuously remembers what it means. You don't misunderstand it, that it's something ordinary. So that's practical. I recommend that you follow in the footsteps of Dasa, one of the early devotees of the Krishna consciousness movement, who Prabhupada mentioned to him one time. He said, you should read and study the Krishna book. So throughout his life, he always has a Krishna book with him. And the copy I saw, that he's carried for so many years, it has many, many markings and references. And if you ask him about Krishna book, he'll be able to tell you a lot of things. So that's practical. But artificially, we don't need to try to conjure something remembering Krishna Lila. If you go to Vrindavan and you serve the Dham there are ways in which you'll remember the enthusiasm of the devotees in Vrindavan, or you'll remember something sweet about Vrindavan and it naturally will come to your mind. Or if you hear, then something might strike you as very either profound or something that is attractive about Krishna. And these are a natural result. But we don't try to do Lila Smaranam independent of our hearing and chanting. And that brings us to the end of this morning's Bhagavatam class. Next we'll have a presentation by the youth for the next 15 minutes. Then we'll have a couple of announcements. Then we have a bus waiting for those who have registered. Is anybody taking the bus this morning? How many? 53 people, and how many people are going to ride in it? 53? Thanks a lot. It's fun. We're going on a picnic. Krishna went on picnics. We can go on picnics. So let's welcome everybody who's going to be speaking this morning. We'll hear from Rasheshwari Leela, who will introduce them. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanandi Haribol.
His Grace Vaisesika Maharaj ki jai.
Can I have the mics? Mics. Pass me the mics. One more. There's one more. One more mic. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for such a wonderful class. Without much delay, I'd like to start for today's presentations. We are continuing on our series of the presentations for the Vrajamandal Parikrama. This is the third of the 4 total that we have. And today, the students are going to cover Bahulavan and Kamyavan, the forests of Vrindavan, the sacred forests. There are 7 sacred forests. So this is the 3rd and the 4th. I'm sorry, that's the 4th and the 5th. Okay, go ahead. Green.
Hare Krishna. My name is Pooja.
And my name is Samya.
Today we will be talking about Bahulavan, one of the sacred forests of Vrindavan. First, we'll talk about the nature in Bahulavan and the spiritual environment there. And next, we'll go into the three beautiful pastimes of Bahula and the tiger, Krishna and the gopis, and the Rasa dance pastime. Bahulavan has a very spiritual environment and is filled with beautiful flowers, trees, and animals. All of the animals are spontaneously attracted to the Lord with great affection, and wild cows graze in the forests of Bahulavan and drink from the serene lakes. Even the trees burst into bloom and shower flowers upon the Lord as he walks in the forest of Bahulavan. One verse that describes Bahulavan will be presented in the next slide by Deepika.
In the Mathura Mahatmya, Srila Rupa Goswami writes, Skande Mathura Kande Bahula Shri Har Patni Tatra Tistati Sarvada Tasmin Padma Venerajan Bahu Punya Palani Cha Tatveva Ramate Vishnu Lakshmaya Sardam Sadevahi Tatra Sanskar Sanam Kundam Tatra Mano Saronepra. In the Skanda Purana, Mathura Kanda, it is said, Lord Hari's wife Bahula stays there always. O king, in the forest of lotus flowers, there one attains the result of many pious deeds. There Lord Vishnu enjoys pastimes with Lakshmi eternally. In that place is Sankarsanakun. In that place is Manasarovara, O king. Next I will talk about a story about Bahula and the tiger which happened in this forest. One afternoon, the cows were peacefully grazing in Bahulavan when a tiger suddenly appeared in the mist. Looking at the various cows which he could eat, his eyes finally settled on a cow named Bahula. He walked stealthily and spoke menacingly. You look very tasty. I'm going to eat you now. Bahula backed away in fear and cried out in terror. But when she saw the tiger's determination, she resigned and took this as her destiny. She asked the tiger for a crest before she would be eaten. She asked the tiger if she could say goodbye to her calf and her master. The tiger agreed. When she got to the Goshala, she narrated the story to her calf and her master. Both of them kept on saying that they should be the ones who should be eaten instead of her. Bahula disagreed, but they still went along with her to be the tiger's meal. The tiger was very happy that he had more meals and began to think about who he should eat first. Before he could think this through, Krishna appeared with his Sudarshan Chakra. He asked the tiger if he wanted a 5-minute meal or everlasting fame. The tiger chose everlasting fame. Krishna had saved the cows from being eaten and Bahula became Krishna's eternal consort. Next, Soumya will be talking about a story about Krishna and the gopis.
A nice pastime that took place in Bahulavan was when Krishna was walking through the forest with his gopis. While walking, the gopis suddenly became extremely tired. Seeing this, Krishna led them to a peaceful garden which was nearby. In the garden, he played beautiful melodies on his flute. The melody was called Melara Raga, and it brought all the clouds together and sprinkled water all over them, which took away the gopis' discomfort and made them happy. Now I'll talk about the Rasa dance pastime in Bahulavan. In this particular Rasa dance, Radharani had become upset with Krishna and left. Krishna then wandered through the many forests of near Govardhan Hill. He finally found her in a forest near Jatipur and bowed his head to her. When Radharani saw her, she told her friend Lalita, "Go tell that rascal boy to go away." Hearing this, Krishna was in tears and ran away to a different forest where he fell asleep. Radharani then told her gopi friends to go find where Krishna is and to report back to her what he's doing. The gopis found him sleeping in a garden with his flute laying next to him on the ground. When the gopis told Radharani about this, she thought that this is the perfect opportunity to go and steal his flute. When Radharani finally stole Krishna's flute, she found out that Krishna had only just been pretending to fall asleep just so that Radharani would approach her.
In conclusion, we talked about the nature in Bahulavan and 3 main pastimes that have occurred in this spiritual place, such as the Bahula and the tiger pastime, Krishna and the gopis, and the rasa dance pastime. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you for listening. Hari Bol. Any questions?
I just have one question. How did the tiger attain eternal fame? I didn't understand that part.
Basically Krishna, he like gave him like fame because like it was basically a boon that he gave him. So
Basically what?
like a boon.
He gave him a boon. You can have eternal fame or you can have a 5-minute meal.
Yeah.
That was really nice. And the whole thing, it's so nicely in concert. And I noticed that you all had meditated on and really had in mind all the pastimes. You weren't even reading from the board. It was amazing. Thank you very much for doing such a wonderful presentation for our whole community. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Very grateful to you. I'd like to now invite the next presentation on Kamya 1. The presentation is by Saturday school students. And please, if you can just hand over the mics.
Okay, Hare Krishna everyone. My name is Arpit and this is
Arna.
Beswaja, Parantab.
And today we'll be talking to you about the Kamyavan forest, which is one of the 12 sacred forests in Vrindavan. So please join us in our journey through this wonderful forest. So in your mind, picture you walking into a forest and see many of these trees. This tree is a Kalpavriksha tree, which means desire tree. Okay. Also within this forest is Vrinda Devi, which is the deity of Vrindavan. So let's all offer our respectful obeisances unto her. So back to Kalpavriksha trees. Kalpavriksha trees are all about spiritual desire. And let's all fulfill our spiritual desires by hugging a Kalpavriksha tree in our minds right now. Okay, a Kalpavriksha tree, all Kalpavriksha trees are liberated souls. And we must hug them and beg them for mercy in order to elevate ourselves spiritually. Our deepest spiritual desire is to get picked up from this fallen state. And Kalpavriksha trees can help us do that. The nature of Kamyavan. Kamyavan is all about Kama. Kama means desire in Sanskrit. Spiritual Kama is the romantic and cute love for Krishna. It's unlimited and goes infinitely deep. And it's present within us all. While material Kama is Cupid's arrows of mundane love and entangles all of us in material existence. It's basically the difference between gold and iron. One is valuable, the other is not so valuable. Okay, Kamyavan is all about the spiritual Kama, and we must all remember this in our journey through the forest.
Do you want to hear a story that happened in Kamyavan? Let's hear the deliverance of Vyamasura. So Vyamasura was a demonic son, but he was the son of a He was demonic, but he was son of a Brahmana. So when Krishna killed him, Krishna had to perform a sacrifice at Charna Pahar, which is also in Kamyavan. So, why did Vyamasura in the first place become a demon? So what happened in his previous life was that he was Maharaja Bhimrata. He was really pious, but he performed austerity in alone, which caused him to not be with devotees. So when Pulastha Muni, a very respected sage, came to his ashram, he didn't pay obeisances, which caused the sage to be disrespected. So he gave him a curse to be born as an asura. So, but the king, he asked for forgiveness. So when Pulastha Muni forgave him and told him that he should not be worried, that he will be delivered by the hands of Krishna. So as we saw in Vyamasura's story, he was full of lies and stealing, which are our greatest obstacles to cultivate love for Krishna. So from this, we see that our highest goal should be spiritual accomplishments like awakening love for Krishna.
I think by now most of us have heard the story of Draupadi's problem. So if you haven't, well, I can give you a summary. So, huh? Oh, sorry. I think all of us have heard the story of Draupadi's problem, and I can give you a summary if you haven't. So when the Pandavas were exiled in the forest so long ago, there was this one incident where Sage Durvasa, a sage who's famous for getting really angry really easily, came with 60,000 disciples to Draupadi's cottage with the Pandavas in the forest. So they said, well, we're hungry and we would like to have prasadam with you. Can we have prasadam with you in your cottage? And Draupadi, because Durvasa Muni gets angry really easily, she didn't want to anger him, so she said, sure, you can come eat with us. And what happened was, the sages said, okay, we will go take bath and come back. We will go take bath in the river nearby and come back, and then we can all have food. And she said, okay, sure, you go do that. The Pandavas were actually given a magical bowl called the Akshay Patra, which would give them infinite food until Draupadi ate from it and she washed the bowl. But the problem was that Draupadi and the Pandavas had already eaten their daily meal and she had already washed the bowl. It wouldn't give them any more food until the next day. And now she had 60,000 sages to feed. And she couldn't do that. So she did the only thing she could in that situation. She prayed to Krishna. She said, Krishna, please help me. I'm in a desperate situation. So Krishna, because back then he would actually come and help you physically, he came and he said to Draupadi, what's your problem? And she said, well, I have 60,000 sages I have to feed, and I have no way to feed them because we're in the middle of nowhere and grocery stores don't exist yet. So, so Krishna said, okay, well, I think I have a solution. Can I see your Akshay Patra? And she's like, okay, sure. She goes in the kitchen, she brings it to him, and he looks at it and he says, there's one tiny small grain of rice. He takes it and he says, and he eats it. And he says, thank you very much, Draupadi, this has been a nice visit, and he leaves. And Draupadi's like, well, at least I got to serve him. But actually what had happened when Krishna ate the grain of rice, the sages, they were all taking a bath, they suddenly felt really full. They were like, oh, why are we so full all of a sudden? Now we can't eat any more food. We shouldn't disrespect Draupadi by going back and refusing all the food she made for us. So let's just leave. So they all left and they never came back. So in this way, Krishna solved Draupadi's problem in a very nice way. So like Draupadi, we should look to Krishna for help in tough situations such as this one. And sometimes he will put us in tough situations to force us to surrender to him. Krishna will never take away your free will, just remember that. He will put you in a situation where the best option is to surrender to him. And after you do surrender to him, he will take care of the situation in his creative and unique way.
Do you want to hear another story that happened in Kamyavan Forest? Well, this is a story that happened in Kamyavan Forest. One day, Nanda Maharaj wanted to go to Magadha pilgrimage, which is in modern-day Bihar, to pay offers obeisances to his forefathers and free them from all their sins. Krishna, seeing his father pack, asked, why are you packing up? Nanda Maharaj replied with, oh, I'm packing up because I want to go to Magadha pilgrimage or Garatirtha to offer my obeisances to my forefathers. Krishna was saddened that he had to go with Nanda Maharaj because he wanted to stay in Vrindavan and play with his friends. So Krishna said to propose that they go to Kamyavan instead. And Nanda Maharaj agreed with Krishna, and both of them went and offered their obeisances and came back. But how is Gaya Tirtha and Gaya Kunda and Kamyavan equivalent to Gaya Tirtha, which is in Magadha pilgrimage? So Krishna's divine lotus feet are actually better in some ways than Vishnu's feet, which makes him also equivalent in some ways to Gaya Tirtha in Magadha pilgrimage to worship or offer your obeisances to. But then how did Krishna's footprints actually appear in Kamyavan? One day Krishna was playing his flute to honor the beauty of the Kamyavan forest. And while he was playing his flute, the mountains ended up melting and rivers ended up becoming solid because his flute was so beautiful. This ended up making Krishna sink and into the mountains. Everything returned back to normal only after Krishna stopped playing his flute. This ended up preserving Krishna's feet and reminding everyone of his divine presence. So from this, we learned that Krishna's lotus feet in Kamyavan are of utmost importance. So in conclusion, let us worship the forest, which is dear to Radha and Madhava, and let's make our lives perfect together. Thank you.
I think the result of your talk was, I want to go there. And each one of you had your own unique style, which was so full of enthusiasm, and the details were nice. You presented very nicely. I really liked your groups. Did you work together? It really showed. It was well coordinated, and you got you brought about the result that we were all hoping for, which was that we became attracted to go there the next time, and we'll remember these pastimes. Thank you very much for your hard work and for such an excellent presentation. You're really good speakers. I think you should do it more and more, okay? Everyone agrees, please say, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I just want to thank Saturday school teacher, Sukeshwari Mataji, who was their teacher. Actually, they're all students of the Saturday school Kaishura class. And also, it's been a joy working with all of you, even the previous group. It's an honor to work with these students. They are definitely carrying their bhakti from their past lives. So we learned so much teaching you. Thank you for doing whatever you're doing, and hope to serve you. Should we go on? Yes, next.
We're going to move on now to announcements, because we're counting down to leave in about 10 minutes. I'd like to have a recognition, a round of applause for the whole group who presented today. More. And for Risheshwari Leela for bringing us these presentations every week. Hare Krishna. Okay. Bhakti community, let's have your announcements, please.
Hare Krishna. You all, as already know, Bhakti community is an online community. So whenever you give books or you have anyone who you want to introduce to Bhakti Yoga, please introduce them to Bhakti community. I want to especially thank today our weekend all-day warriors, Krishna Sakha Prabhu, Kautukarna Prabhu, and Achyut Balram Prabhu. All the three of them have been very, very consistently, week by week, bringing us so many newcomers, and we are almost overwhelmed with the love that they give to all of these newcomers. So please, whenever you meet them, please thank them, because they are doing an excellent job, all the three of them. And I also want to welcome Abby and Rishi today. And they're coming here. Abby came to our women's retreat, and Rishi has been her partner all the time whenever they come to the temple. Mostly Sundays, they decided to come. This morning, I asked Abby what inspired her to come, and she told me that it's the need to come here. So I was really happy to hear that from her. So please welcome them and say them Hare Krishna. And we also do in-person programs. Last week we had a very good mantra zone at Yashoda Kripa Prabhu. He has his home. He has created a nice environment for newcomers. He's doing another program again next week. So if you all feel inspired, please connect with him and bring your newcomers to his home. Hare Krishna.
And now we have announcements from Malini Devi Dasi about the Sankirtan book distribution party.
Hare Krishna. For this monthly Sankirtan festival for Lord Nrsingadev, we have a goal of distributing at least 30 Srimad Bhagavatam sets, and we have 2 weekends left, this weekend and the next weekend. And this time we are running a little slow. I mean, we are short of goals, so we only have 2 weekends left. So we request all of you to please pray harder. If you don't know what to pray, then we have Prahlad prayers that we can use to practice on what we need to pray. But please pray harder and try your best to distribute more sets. And we have a goal of distributing at least 30. And I know that I've seen that Kautu Karna Prabhu is back from a 1 month long Sankirtan outing. So I don't know where he is. If you want, please give him a big round of applause. Okay, I think he already went out again. So I wanted to share one thing about Kautu Karna Prabhu. Recently, he went with a devotee from Los Angeles, His Grace Bhakt Avatar Prabhu, and they shared the books, they shared the van, they took all of this, and they went to many, many different states. And after they came back, yesterday they were doing the calculations on how many books, how much we owe, and everything like that. So we sent an email to Mayapur Shashi Prabhu to figure out the calculations and everything. So Mayapur Shashi Prabhu was very pakka. He said, this much for gas, this much for insurance, this much. So he put a lot of items. And then Kautu Karna Prabhu said, I'm okay with everything, Prabhu, whatever you mentioned. And then there was some discrepancy about shipping, which he wrote back. And in response to that, Mayapur Shashi Prabhu said, I wish you worked for me. So he won the heart of a devotee who is dedicated his life in book distribution. I think that's how he's doing in his humility. He's trying different ways to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, and that's all we need, is stay in that humble position. As His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu was saying, think that you're a beginner. So we all are looking for that kind of humility to go out and distribute books. And one last thing is, recently, Mukunda Datta Prabhu, when he came here, he gave fantastic series of classes that dissipated all the doubts in the mind. And one thing he mentioned, which stuck with us, is that he said, if you want to know what it means for your false ego to be smashed, he said, go out on book distribution. So it's a good experience to see how our plans get smashed and how Krishna's plans are revealed. So it's a good idea. So today we have many spots. One is, I think, one will be in Cupertino somewhere. There will be one in Fremont or Milpitas that Kameshwari will take. And there is one in Dublin, Pleasanton, and Western Sankirtan spots. Someone from Western team can say? Because they have a lot of spots. Okay, Adinath Krishna Prabhu is coming. Thank you, Adinath Krishna Prabhu, for...
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. I'll be brief. There are 4 locations planned. Taiwanese American Cultural Festival. This is San Francisco Union Square. It's free of charge, and it seems it'll be in the open. So you can almost plant anywhere. The intersections specifically, it's almost like free game there. You could just show up, so long you're not disturbing unnecessarily. Mere Woods, weather is relatively nice right now. So Vaishnav Prabhu, Jai Kanai Prabhu, and perhaps Satvat Prabhu, us 4 will go to Mere Woods and split up. There's also another festival in Mill Valley. That's the 3rd location. And then His Grace Kautu Karna Prabhu, our hero and chosen leader, will be back, and he'll lead a team in downtown Mountain View for a few hours. So any of these devotees you may get in contact with. In honor of keeping the culture of Srila Prabhupada, his mood and mission, I'll kindly end with a quote. You have rightly said when you write that the devotees are working to please me by distributing my books. My mission on behalf of my Guru Maharaj and Lord Chaitanya to spread Krishna consciousness would never have been so successful if it had not been taken up by enthusiastic boys and girls, such as in San Francisco, especially through distribution of books. Letter to Bhakta Dasa on 28th June 1974. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Bhakti Kennedy will be speaking about our excursion today to Bhakti Farms, what to expect, and please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. I'm so excited for you all to come out and experience the cows and this beautiful property. Yamuna Mataji has been cooking since yesterday for you. We have prasadam pre-packed for anyone who's going on the bus. So don't get in line. We actually have it for you in case you don't finish and you want to take it with you. This is a long bus ride, so please use the restroom before you go. On the bus, get your trivia skills ready because we have a lot of cow-themed trivia for you with prizes like the tote bags and these new hats we have. We have this beautiful hat here. And if these aren't your style, we also have I Heart Cow bucket hats. And these first two are going to Guru Man, Guru Dev. We also have stickers. We are so excited to have you guys out there. If you have any questions, I know it's been a whirlwind of getting it together, but please come and ask me. And then we also have waivers for you to sign before you get on the bus. That's just so the transportation company feels safe with a bunch of wild devotees. And Radha Kripa Prabhu will have those as well, and I have a pen if he needs it. But thank you all so much for coming on this trip with us. For those of you not joining us today, we'll see you next time, and today is a great day for Sankirtan. So if we don't see you at the farm, hopefully we'll see you distributing books out there. Thank you.
Announce the cooks in 20 seconds or less, and we make our time.
Hare Krishna. Today's prasadam was cooked by Kuladveep Pran Prabhu, Dhira Prashant Prabhu, Shama Bhakta Prabhu, and Shailen Prabhu.
Sharira vijajao jotendriya tahikal jibebele vishashagare dharmaje jivaiti lobamoy sudurmati takejita katina shangshare Krishna baradoyamoy koribari jivajoy shaprashad and dilubai shena mrita pao radha Krishna gunagal preme dako chaitanya nitai mahaprasad ki jai. So everyone please help put away all the asans and roll up the carpet and give a quick sweep to the temple room, and we'll see you at Bhakti Farms. Hare